Good morning. This is Ben and my co-host Evelyn on the Who's Ben Pop cast. And remember, POP stands for passion, obsession, and perseverance. And I like to begin with a quote from Calvin Coolidge, which I came across years ago, and it really kind of helped me through some moments in life. And it's nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Evelyn, are you, Evelyn's been kind of, she's been a little needy today. Hey. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Evelyn, say goodbye. Say bye to the camera. All right, there we go. Okay. Go to Mama. Mama came up. So, today I wanted to talk about the idea of passion. And passion is totally necessary. And the reason that it's necessary is because everything in this world is controlled by other people. Anything that you could possibly want, anything that you'd want to sell. I mean, really, if you were the only person in the world, then, I wonder if it would be worth living. So everything is through other people. So passion is the thing that really gives us a connection with people, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, or if you are an entrepreneur. That passion, it connects. It's like, it's almost like a glue that just attracts other people. And many people have never found passion. I remember over the years, many times I'd be at a trade show and I would get so obsessed about talking to people about my product. I remember several occasions where I was like, somebody would be across the aisle and the way I would behave at trade shows back then, I know today when I'd walk through them, I'm like, oh, please don't bother me. Nobody talk to me. But back then I would pull people in all the time. And they weren't even interested, and I would still pull them in. And I remember doing a trade show in Washington, D.C., and the woman that I pulled in her and the man she was walking with, they came over, and I was showing them about the brilliance in my product and why it was going to solve every problem in their life. And I remember she said to me, at the end, before she left, she goes, I just admire your passion. I wish I could have passion like that. And I've been thinking about that for years. And I've had other people talk to me about passion, about seeing my passion. And it never really necessarily made sense to me. I didn't understand that magic that I had until years later. As I look back when I was younger and I had that passion, I now recognize that had I known then what I know now, it would have made such a difference. It would have made even much more of a difference. But at the time, I didn't see that. But I do now. And I can tell you that whatever you do, because being an entrepreneur and getting a business started is, passion, obsession, and perseverance. Those are the three adjectives. And today I just want to talk about passion, but we literally need all three of them. And the only way through it is you really just have to find appreciation. You have to find love in everything you do, no matter what it is. When you're the entrepreneur and it's your business and somebody went to the bathroom and they didn't flush it properly, that job is going to come to you at some point, probably, unless you have a maintenance person or you're in a rental building it just depends. But don't be surprised when tasks like that, they literally, the buck is going to stop with somebody and you can't just, close the bathroom and assume that we don't need to use it again. And I find sometimes, like you might feel like you don't understand accounting or you're not good at math or whatever. And all I can tell you is that business math isn't that complicated. I mean, I did get a D in statistics the original time. I did have to retake it, and I got a B the second time. But, I have used regression analysis many times, just so I don't have to get a bunch of quotes from suppliers. I'll get 3 quantities and 3 prices and apply regression to it. And then I can just figure out where their pricing is going to be, and I don't have to keep calling them back saying, hey, what if I change the quantity to this? So that's helped me a lot. That's about the most advanced math, and really, that's simple in a spreadsheet. I mean, a spreadsheet will easily give you regression. It'll show you the slope of the line, and it'll show you whatever they call it, the coefficient, or I don't remember, but it'll show you how well it fits to that line. And other than that, accounting is not really math. There's not much math in that. And I've been different with accounting anyhow. A lot of times in accounting, we spend a lot of time doing practices that probably worked well in the 1920s, but today they don't. They have a tendency in accounting to try and make costs all look variable as much as possible, and it's like that's not true. It especially like labor. You can't cut an employee's hours. If you cut their hours, they'll quit. So I look at employee wages. I look at all my expenses as pretty much fixed. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's insurance or the lease on the building or my airplane. It doesn't matter what the expense is, or if it's my production staff. It's all a fixed cost. I have to pay them every single week, whether they have enough work to do or not. And it's kind of liberating because and that'll be a future podcast about how to deal with accounting and take the complexities out of it, make it simple. But in doing that, it takes an enormous amount of stress and pressure off the table, and it makes it so that let's try another camera angle here today. Oops, that one's looking out the window. I'm going to have to move it. Well, maybe today we'll just have a single camera angle. I'll prepare better next time. So in looking at all costs as just fixed other than outside costs, like if I have to send something to another company for finishing, or I have to order something from another company, I include that in my cost when I'm figuring out what my cost is to make a product. But other than that, I just consider labor as just included. That way I make production decisions much simpler. So it doesn't require any advanced math or anything. It's just like really simple. And same thing with accounting. Accounting is just really simple. But passion, that's the thing that attracts other people. And you just have to take whatever it is you do, and you just have to just find love in it. Just find a place to find appreciation in it, I mean, when it comes to, I brought up accounting. I have an accounting degree. I'm probably still recovering from that. But you just constantly look at it and keep looking at it and look for the beauty in it, because there's beauty in everything that we do. If you look at your accounting transactions and you buy something, I mean, really, to keep a business simple, there aren't that many what we call general ledger accounts. And usually when we buy something, it's either going to be another form of getting kind of complicated, but it's either going to be an asset or it's probably going to be an expense. And for tax purposes, we want it to be an expense. But for the bottom line to look good, we probably want it to be an asset. But definitely, if I go out and anyhow, I don't want this one to be about that. But what I do want this episode to be about is finding passion in what you do. And even something, and I guess the reason I was thinking about accounting is I was reading an article yesterday, and it had like the top 10 most boring professions in accounting was number 2. And I was like, I don't think that's a lot of people that don't understand accounting. And most people think that accounting is about math. And I'm like, not really. It's more about memory. It's there's an old joke, which is an entrepreneur wanted to know what his net income was. And so he was talking to his attorney. He was like, hey, what's my net income? And as an attorney, he's like, oh, okay, well, give me some time and I'll figure it out. And his next meeting was with some engineers, and he was like, hey, do you know what the company's net income is? And the engineers were like, well, we'll go figure it out. And so then he called in his accountant, and he said, hey, what's my net income? And the accountant walks up to the blinds and draws the blinds, and then he walks over and he looks at the man and he says, what do you want it to be? And the reason that's funny is because everything in accounting is estimated. Everything, like every single thing that you look at the books is all a guess. It's all a guess. It's like none of it's really real. And we've been guessing it the same way since, that would be another episode, but since the 1400s. And, but anyhow, like even something as boring as accounting, you can find the beauty in it. You can find the love in it because, creating a financial statement is kind of like, it's a thought process, because in the future, you're going to look back at this period, you're going to compare it to a period in the future. And so you want to have a consistency in the way that you deal with it. And so that you can rely to see, hey, are things really running the same, or are things running maybe a little more poorly, or what are the changes at this point? And the only way that you're going to know it is if you have consistency in the way you do it. And so when, as the entrepreneur, probably there's a good chance you're going to have to do the accounting yourself, and it's not that hard. It's really nothing is. I mean, at the most, take your receipts and put them in a box and try and keep them in order as much as you can, and try and keep them organized by month. If you do that, that's a lot of improvement. And then you can sit down over a weekend or when you have time. I remember when I was first building my business, it was holidays were always a time that we would get caught up on administrative stuff, and a lot of accounting and stuff I would have to do on holidays. I remember I got an order one time from a company in Spain because I answered the phone on Thanksgiving. I had an ad in the Thomas Register back then, and obviously from Europe they called. They didn't realize it was Thanksgiving, and I was probably the only company that was open. I wasn't really open, but I was there working, and if the phone rings, I always answered it, and any time, day or night. Always happy to talk to people. And I love talking to people when they have a problem with my product or service or something like that. I want to hear about those things. That's really where the gems, the nuggets of wisdom are going to come from. They're really going to come from people using your product, taking a moment to complain. And it's so rare that somebody will do that. And that'll be another podcast about the types of complaints. I think most people don't know the difference between a complaint and like a constructive criticism that is helpful. And it's probably hard to do it. And most of the time, advice coming at us is always like, well, just avoid negative people. Well, my gosh, if you just avoid anybody that starts talking negative and dismissing it, you're going to have a really tough time running a business and making it better, especially if times start to get a little tougher. I mean, we've been in a boom economy for a long time, and the money supply has just been growing. The government's been printing just tons and tons and tons and tons of money. So there's money everywhere right now. And I'm telling you, I remember back in the late 80s, and it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that in the early 80s. And it was a different world back then. And getting a business off the ground back then was a lot different than what it would be right now. But, finding that passion in everything you do, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's like, it could be a report that you're going to give a customer or something. And it didn't matter to me if the customer was spending $15 or $15,000. we were going to do a first-class report that we were going to give that customer. When I would put something in that customer's hands, I always felt proud about it. Always. I always felt good when they looked at it. I knew that things were just always going to look good, you know? And it's like I didn't know what I was doing back then. I mean, I took the time. I remember learning to use crystal reports, and it was just so complicated sometimes. And other times it was like straightforward for, you know, creating certain types of forms. But, you know, I remember the time I figured out how to get it to shade every other row, and I laser printed a report for a customer, you know, and it looked so beautiful. I felt so good about it, you know, seeing that beautiful report coming to them. Of course, back then, you know, not everybody had laser printers, and they definitely couldn't take variable data like that and make it look good, especially not in a small business. You know, I just found love in it, you know, and in order to get that report going, I mean, that's why 100-hour weeks. And I think we hear the word 100 hours weeks and we have no idea what it means. And all I can tell you is 100 hours is 2 40-hour jobs, 2 40-hour week jobs, and a 20-hour part-time job on top of it. It's literally, if you work from, you know, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, right? That's only, that's 12 hours a day times 5 is 60. So that's 60 hours. We still need to find another 40 hours to work. That's how much it is. But that's what it takes. I mean, you know, when I bought my first laptop that was a Zenith 181 and it had dual floppy drives, and I had Evelyn's coming back. Come on, Evelyn. Come on. Come back to the camera. Oh, yes. Evie. Hey, look at the camera. Evelyn, say hi to the camera. Oh, my gosh. And she's pushing buttons, I guess. Her mother's here at the moment. I don't know why she does that. She spends most of her time with me. And then she abandons me sometimes. She's so adorable. Anyhow, about, you know, you just find love in what you do. And when I bought that Zenith 181, it had the dual floppy drives. I think it cost me $2,700. I mean, we're talking like 1986. It had dual 3.5-inch floppy drives. There's probably people listening to this that don't even know what a floppy drive is. But it took me like 3 days to figure out how to get it started. I remember turning it on and thinking it was similar to the mainframe in college that I would use, these deck writers, which I'm certain nobody knows what that is, but maybe Google does. And I could just type a command and then the computer respond to it. And I remember that Zenith 181, and I have it back. I was an auditor at the time, so I had it in my hotel room. I remember turning it on, and it was like a blue, and you know, it was a monochrome screen, but it was blue, and like nothing came up, you know, and it was like I had no idea what to do. And then it was like, it took me like 3 days, I think, evenings, right, before I finally figured out how to get that thing started, you know. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to load an operating system first. And it's like all these things we take for granted today, you know, and then file storage locations. And then I remember, you know, I learned how to use that laptop. I bought Lotus 123 back then, which was a spreadsheet, and I think that was like $400, and at the time, I can't remember, the Word Star or something like that was the word processor back then, and that would have been another $500 or something. And so I didn't buy the word processor. I would use my spreadsheet to write letters. And then I had a little Kodak Diconics printer that it was so cool. It had batteries in it. It would run tractor feed forms or single sheets, and it was dot matrix, and then I could print stuff. And I learned how to use that computer. I learned how to get it to load. Learned how to run Lotus 123, and I learned how to just start doing analysis and stuff. And then later on, when I started my own business, that was a big part. I started off with a mailing service where my job was to, you know, basically mail letters for other people. And in doing that, I didn't have any money. I literally started in business with $1,000. And so I was competing with this company in town, or several companies in town where I lived at the time. And they had like all this high-speed equipment. And here I built my own little machine that would advance labels, pressure-sensitive labels, so that you could put them on an envelope much, much faster. You didn't have to peel it off the paper. The machine did it. And I actually built that machine from scratch, from plastic, from scrap plastic at a plastic supplier. I went in there and they had this big barrel of scrap. And I was like, what's that? And they were like, well, we sell that for like, $2 a pound or whatever it was. But I remember they even cut all the pieces for me. I think I only spent like $35. And I remembered going to Granger and buying a little motor for another $35 and a little micro switch. And I built that machine, and I remembered, how am I going to connect the motor to the bar that advanced the labels? And I was like, I used a small like automotive hose with hose clamps, and then when I got it all done, it didn't separate the labels. It just like would rotate them around. I thought I was dead. And then I remember going back to the store and thinking, and I got a piece of like L bracket, like a piece of steel L bracket that I cut and put in place, and it gave it a sharp enough edge that it would peel the label and it would stop at the micro switch. It'd be another discussion, but we do what we have to do. That's really what it's about. When you're an entrepreneur, you get out there and you do what you have to do, and you just really have to find love in every aspect of the business, because if you don't find it, you're probably not going to get it from anybody else. And if you don't find it, you're not going to recognize it when you do get it from somebody else. And if you don't recognize and manage people and follow up with them, then they're not going to keep doing it. So the only way to really do a great job is you just have to start looking at everything you do and recognize that nothing is beneath me. Nothing is beneath me. I need to do what I need to do to make this place run, to make it work, which means one minute I need to learn how to become a marketing person, And it's not very hard. We just don't think about that. Usually we take the time to write a letter to somebody, and we waste the opening line talking about ourselves, like, I know you're busy. Why would you do that? If I was too busy, I wouldn't have even taken the time to read, I know you're busy. So maybe on that opening line, I just stopped reading, whether it's in letter or an email. They're all synonymous with the communication that you look at. So, all of a sudden you start to become an expert on marketing because it matters to you. You start to become an expert on search engines because it matters to you. You start becoming an expert on whatever it is, social media, whatever it is that's going to get the attention of the people around you that you need for what you need. And that's really what being an entrepreneur is about, is doing what it takes when it takes it. And passion, passion, that's that magic that other people, they don't see it. Like, we don't learn how to be passionate in school. If anything, if I really look at the definition of passionate, it's not always a positive word, I mean, outside of the sexual nature of passionate, I'm not talking about that way. I'm talking about just passionate in what you do. And it's not always a positive word. It's actually somewhat has some negative undertones with it, because it's like this ultimate drive, or this, like, it's this thing that connects you with other people. It really does. I mean, it causes people to just come out of the woodwork and start talking to you and just feel connected, and you put that passion into your product, and your customers will see it. I've always had that understanding. It's like, you got some people that are just really sloppy, and they're not going to recognize, they're just sloppy. Like, they don't know how to keep things clean. And I read years ago that the first step to running to having a quality product is to have a clean environment. And I got my environment clean after that. And I realized my staff, we were losing a lot of time over disorganization. And I realized, it's like business needs to be battle ready all the time. And, battle ready just means everything is put away where it needs to be. Everything is clean. We don't want to learn new things because something is contaminated with other stuff. But, it's like you just put passion towards it. That's what I did. I mean, and we spent a few weeks and cleaned the entire business and got everything organized. And I keep it that way. The whole business keeps it that way. And I always discuss that with my staff when I see them. I always discuss about the cleanliness and organization of the place. And because it always is, I always comment about it. I'm like, wow, this place is clean. Or, when I have other people that have been into my plant, they'll come back and be like, wow, your shop is it's as clean as a hospital. Sometimes I'm like, I hope it's maybe cleaner. There's like a lot of germs and stuff I hear you can catch from a hospital. But, and it's like, but the way that you do it is you just find passion in it, and you just don't waver. Like, you're like, okay, this is the right way to do it. Sometimes we just have to know that something is the right way, and we just stick with it no matter what comes your way, no matter what kind of problems come your way. So passion, man, it's the glue. It's the glue for other people. Just start doing it. Just start feeling passionate about what you do. And I don't care what it is, even if it's the bathroom. You walk into the bathroom and it's a mess. It's like, clean it up. Do it yourself. Just clean it up, really. And then start expecting it. And if it's not clean, then, clean it the next time. And then when you walk into it one time and you find that it's clean, then make a big deal about it. Just be like, this is fantastic. Look how clean the bathroom is today. And then you'll start finding other people around you will start getting passionate about keeping the bathroom clean too. I know it doesn't sound good, but it is important. If you want to produce a good quality product or service, you need to have a good, clean environment that people feel that they feel good in, right? So even somebody that is sloppy, they can be organized at work, especially if they recognize that's what they need to be. And if it comes to customers and other members, like if the people that are clean and organized, they definitely recognize the details. That's where the beauty is. The beauty is in the details, I believe, and that's the hardest part. Like building a house, they get the frame up in no time. The studs and all that, those go up, the footings, foundation, all that stuff gets poured quickly. It really super fast. But you know what the hard part of a house is? The trim, the sheetrock, the parts that make it beautiful and aesthetically pleasing when we walk in there. That's the part that takes all of the time. And even people that are sloppy recognize it. And when you take that and you take the time to put that into your product, that comes in there through the passion that you have, the passion of just appreciation, right? Like just appreciate the other people around you. I've had a saying for years where I say, the highest form of honor that anybody can bestow upon you is the decision to do business with you. I mean, really, if you think about it, people can say anything, but words really don't mean a lot. They're just words. But making the decision to buy my book, that it might have taken me 2 or 3 years to get it figured out how to make it the right way. And when people buy that and they don't even understand why they like it so much, they just know that they like it, and they don't have any idea how much pain it was to figure out how to put it together that way. It was an enormous amount of pain. It didn't just come easily. And all kinds of times you run into all kinds of silly little problems, and you have to have that passion. That passion is the thing that keeps you going. And even to this day, I'll hear about somebody that, there'll be an issue in a book, and I'll be like, oh, you made a change after you generated the table of contents. And it's so easy to do that. And I just really wish the programs that do that, they would just come back, and if you make any change in the book, the table of contents would just put like a watermark across it that would say, regenerate. And that would eliminate that. You can do that in the index too. If any software creators of programs for creating books are out there and they hear this, please do that. That would solve a lot of problems. It's so simple to make problems that, can have a major major impact. It's easy for them to infiltrate their way in, and they're so innocent. It's so innocent to spend 50 hours working on this book to get it to just be perfect, right? And and you generate, of course, in order, you generate the table of contents and the index when you were supposed to. And then all of a sudden, something's brought to your attention and you need to make a quick change at the last moment. And then that reflowed some pages and you forgot to regenerate the index and table of contents. And it might not be obvious because it might have been on the last 30 pages of the book. So only that portion of the table of contents and index is out of sequence. So anyhow, passion is the thing that kind of like keeps you going there, and it keeps the other people to agree on the importance of it. And another thing, I have never, ever, ever made a complaint about a customer. I believe that if the customer doesn't get what they need when they need it, that it's our fault. And that would be anything. It's like I just figure everything is my fault, everything. Because really, when I think about it, you're either a victim or it's your fault. And so if it's your fault, it gives you power over it. And if it's somebody else's fault, then you're a victim, right? So, constantly, the only reason I want to look for on something, I just want to look for, okay, how did it come about, So, and I can understand that. Okay, so then once we understand how something came about, then we can look at the process and we can think about, okay, well, how do we fix that process so that this doesn't happen again? Anyhow, the only thing I can say is that passion is what keeps you on track. I think I've over pushed the passion. I think I've made it really clear at this point that passion, research the word, do whatever you need to do and start finding it, and just force yourself to be passionate about what you do. I guarantee you're going to start finding love in everything you do. And I don't care what you do. You could work at a grocery store, pushing carts in, and I used to do that too. And find passion in it. I mean, just find love in what you do. That's it. So anyhow, this is the Who's Been Popcast. And remember, the POP stands for passion, obsession, and perseverance. And I was talking to my ex-wife yesterday, and she thought that the POP was like Papa, since Evelyn does these with me. And I was like, I never thought about that, but I suppose it should be POP squared at this point. POP as in Papa, and then POP as in passion, obsession, and perseverance. And there we are at the 33-minute mark. 3 is like my favorite number, and I don't know why, but I just love that we're at 33 minutes and 12 seconds right now. And at 33 minutes and 33 seconds, I'm gonna hit the red button that's gonna stop today's Popcast. And thank you so much for listening today. There I go saying thank you again. And I love you all. Really, thank you so much. I love you. Have a wonderful day. Make a wonderful day.